Hi Siddharth, welcome to the Bizz Buzz show. It's a pleasure
Hello.
having you with us today. So, how does it feel to be back at the HMTV studio?
And it feels kind of homecoming. It feels very nostalgic. So thank you for having me here. 2 years back, we had shot my first web series that I wrote and directed called Paruvu. We had shot in the same studio, the place that we are right now sitting.
Is the same ad budget allocated or being spent for OTTs, or how do you see the PR and marketing side of it?
Again, that is a strategy thing. I can't really talk about it, but I've seen.
Like in movies, we have some work out, some don't, some are massive hits, some are flops.
Correct.
In spite of having a stellar cast and all that. So similarly, some series work out on OTT and some
Correct.
don't. There might be some shows which were really shot with a lot of dedication and passion and
Correct.
have content also, but they have maybe not attracted audience as much as the other shows do.
Correct.
So what's your take on this entire concept?
Web series is not time sensitive. Suddenly people will start watching. We can never really predict.
So finally, can we know about your future endeavors?
I'm trying to mount a film, theatrical film.
Hi Siddharth, welcome to the Bizz Buzz show. It's a pleasure
Hello.
having you with us today. So how does it feel to be back at the HMTV studio?
Thank you, Vinila. Thank you for inviting me, and I'm glad that I'm here to my shoot location.
Yeah.
So 2 years back, we had shot my first web series that I wrote and directed called Paruvu. So we had shot in the same studio, the place that we are right now sitting.
Yeah.
And it feels kind of homecoming. It feels very nostalgic. So thank you for having me here.
So hearty congratulations on the massive success that this show has given. So can you let us know how you entered this OTT space and how did your transition from being a CA happen?
So it starts in around 2016, my journey. I was doing a job here in the city, and then I was always a passionate writer, and I wanted to come into films. Since my college days, I wanted to come into films, and I was a huge cinephile. I used to watch all kinds of films, not just Telugu or Hindi or English, even Korean, Chinese, Japanese, anything even without subtitles sometimes. And that kind of always was a burning passion inside me. And once I was doing a job here in Hyderabad, then I understood that I should probably give some time in following my passion. That's where I started doing content writing. Initially, my journey started like that for different portals, online website portals. Through that, slowly I understood the business of media, short films, etc. And parallelly, I started learning the screenwriting craft through online courses and master classes and everything. So slowly around 2017, I think I wrote my first script. Just as a thought exercise, I did it just to pitch it to a couple of people and see. At that point of time, a couple of channels were starting an OTT. This was even before OTT was a big thing.
Yeah.
So at that time, I was given a particular concept where I had to write a comedy web series, a 6-episode web series set in one location. So I took it as a challenge just to test waters, and I made a whole script. It was supposed to be my first show as well, but due to some logistical issues and everything, it didn't work out, it didn't pan out.
Okay.
But that idea of writing a web series started fascinating me, and slowly from a content writer, I became a creative writer. That is where I was finding my passion and that kind of fulfillment. So around 2018-19, I started writing full-fledged. And I always like writing long form. So I couldn't probably contain a thought in a 2-hour screenplay. I wanted to write something big. And I couldn't stop my ideas. So that is where web series was a good format for me. Because I could explore more, I could write complex characters and everything. And I grew up watching shows like Mad Men or Breaking Bad, etc. All these iconic shows. So the way they use their characters to tell a story and explore a world, all these things were really good exercise for me. So I started doing that out of passion. It was not like I was pitching it somewhere or something. And slowly, then luckily for me, during 19 and 20, OTT started becoming a prime entertainment source. One of the prime entertainment sources, because it was kind of bridging between television, cable network television and theatrical experience. Somewhere in the middle, OTT was starting to take up some space, entertainment space. So that's where I started approaching OTTs and telling them that these are the scripts that I have, and probably they could make good shows. During pandemic, because everyone was stuck at home, and slowly OTT became a huge thing. People started tuning into OTTs. So opportunities for people like me who were kind of writing long form and who had an idea of the structure of an OTT kind of opened up. The opportunities opened up. That is where I approached Z5 with this concept called Paruvu.
Okay.
So me and my partner, we both made a demo shoot of Paruvu and we presented it. So immediately they liked the idea of a demo being presented rather than a pitch. So they could see the characters and they could see the world and the tone that we want to do, the concept of the film. So immediately they were like, great, well, let's do it. Then I started pitching the film, pitching the web series. It took a couple of months to narrate, and then they approved it. Slowly we got into production, and Paruvu released last year.
And it
June,
became a huge hit.
Yeah, June 14th. So that's how the whole transition happened.
It's very interesting. So coming back to our topic of OTTs, so it is estimated that the OTT platforms, the whole business is around like 350 billion USD in 2025. So what is your take on both regional and international OTT platforms? Are they here to stay?
I would say it's around India. I think it's around 350 million or something.
Okay.
Because it's still emerging market. It's a huge. So the predominant market still is cable network, cable TV, which has already penetrated into every household, even in deepest, remotest areas.
Yes, yeah.
Second comes theatre. So theatre becomes the next big thing. OTT is still a very young child compared to these things. So I think OTT is going to be in one form or other. It is going to stay because it is a digital representation of cable network. Something that is also kind of dependent on the technology that we have today. Yes. So we are using or we are dependent on our smartphones, and we are dependent on our laptops and web pages and everything. OTT is an extension of that thought. So OTT is going to stay. In which form is a different discussion altogether. So is it going to just be about web series, or is it going to be just a replacement of premium cable television, wherein there will be like daily serials and sports and etc., which will be ad revenue based. Maybe slowly the OTTs will shift from subscription to ad revenues, like a YouTube premium kind of a thing. So all these things are going to be there. In which form we don't know, but yeah, it is going to be there. So the content will always be recalibrated depending on the form it takes. So maybe the same Paruvu that I did 2 years back and it got released, or last year when it got released, maybe tomorrow I might have to compress maybe the 8 episodes that I did might be compressed to a 6 episodes or a 4 episodes kind of a thing. Or they might have a different take on it altogether, or the budgets might be different. So different things will be there, and the OTT business, it's still testing waters. We've not really gone into the depth of it.
But like you said, in India, it's still an emerging market.
It is.
Yeah. But there's always this thing that, there are two sides of a coin, like we discussed. See, one thing is like a lot of people rely on OTT saying that it's okay, that movie or series, it'll anyways come. So I'll watch it later. Correct. Or like you said, some people might prefer going to the theater and watching it. So what's your take on it?
I think it's going to be a combination of both. See, big budget films and theatrical experiences, the films which are giving you that theatrical experience, those films will always attract the audience. People want to go spend, and now the ticket prices are such that once you step out of your home and go to a theater, you are ending up spending around 1,000 per person.
Yeah, easily.
If it's a family, it's around 4,000, 5,000 easily. Yeah, a multiplex or a shopping mall kind of a thing. So to them, that experience has to kind of count. So for that, the big films like Pushpa 2 or RRR or KGF or Salar or the upcoming ones, they have the capacity to justify that. But that is not to say that something which is content driven like Court or Mad or something, those also will attract. but may not be the whole family or as an experience. It is more like a out of fandom or out of kind of interest, curiosity, people will go. Again, as you said, these films will have a better reach and a bigger reach in OTT.
Yes.
So automatically, as I said, it is like the concept of having a film in the 90s or 2000s when a film got released and after 6 months it used to come in TV.
Yeah.
It is like that. Now that window of release is gone down, which is like say 4 weeks or 5 weeks, depending on the performance of the film. So that is going to be as a parallel entertainment thing. It will keep on going. Now the issue might be that are all the OTTs dependent on films? We'll have to see. Because slowly what is happening is most of the subscription is happening because of these films being present on a particular platform. If it is Hotstar or Netflix or Prime, which are the big players who are buying all big successful films. So what will happen to the regional OTTs? We'll have to see. So then it is all again recalibration that we have to see.
So like you said, Siddharth, it's a very different ball game writing for a series, like you said, long form, and a movie. So there are many aspiring budding writers or who are passionate about writing.
Correct.
So what advice would you give them? How does it work basically?
To enter into web series, you are saying the structure of a web series, let us say. So there are two things I probably would say is that it is not just about the writing part of it. It is also about the positioning part of it. So these two things have to be factored in when you are sitting down to write a web series. That much I can tell at this point of time.
Okay.
So writing is obviously the grammar of web series, which is, are you writing a web series for 6 episodes? Depending on that, you have to build a character, build multiple characters actually, build a world. And main difference between a film and a web series writing is you cannot be dependent on one character to run your show. In film, usually it is a 3-act structure and it is a protagonist who starts off at a point A, goes through some hurdles, goes through a peak point, there is some interval block, then by the end of it he wins or loses depending on the genre of the film. That is one character's journey, or sometimes it is 2 characters. But in a web series that is not going to happen. Even if it is the greatest show, let us like a Game of Thrones or Breaking Bad, unless you create different diverse characters who are interacting, either opposing each other or helping each other or something like that, you cannot sustain the audience's interest. Because after a point of 1 hour or 1.5 hours, they will have had enough of the protagonist doing stuff. There is only so much you can do with a character. So you will have to create parallel tracks and everything. Then every episode needs to have its own structure of starting, middle and end. Every episode has to have that. Of course, as an OTT requirement, every episode needs to have a cliffhanger, which will prompt you to go from one episode to the next episode. Preferably maybe a seasonal cliffhanger, which will push you from season 1 to season 2. Maybe something like that. So all these things are grammar of OTT, which is of course I can't condense it into one sentence that this is how you can create a web series show. But essentially these are the elements. But I would very clearly advise anyone who is writing for web series is to understand which OTT they are pitching it to.
Oh, it also depends on
the platform. That is what I was meaning by positioning.
Okay.
So positioning is the story that I write. Let us say, for example, I've written something like Paruvu, which has political undertones, which have class commentary, which has caste discrimination angle, all those things. So something like that might not be something conducive for a Netflix or an Amazon Prime, because these are players, these are global OTT players who are trying to emerge or create market in India, and they've already faced backlash about some political shows that they've done in the past. So it is prudence that something like this, like Paruvu, might not be picked up by something like a Netflix or a thing. So the best conducive environment for this particular script is something which is regional, which understands its culture and nuances of the culture. So it is perfect for Z5. Vice versa, something that I write for Netflix might not be conducive. If I am writing like a big Hira Mandi kind of a show, which is like 300 crores or 250 crores or something like that, that scale will only be justified by a global OTT player. It cannot be justified by a regional thing. So vice versa. So you will have to be very clear about which platform you are going to. And second, there is also another difference is Netflix and Amazon are pure OTTs. Meaning that they've created OTTs all by themselves from the ground up. Something like a Hotstar or Zee or Sony, they've built their OTT upon a existing cable network. So most of the demographic or the most of the subscriber demographic comes from TV. So it has to appeal to them as well, the content that you're giving. So the positioning is very important like that.
So I think it's the technical part of it.
It's the technical part of it, yeah.
But I think it's very self-explanatory because I think we understood the nuances of it. So one more thing, Siddharth, is that talking about the business angle, like you said, they're getting subscription models, and also, earlier the sharing of, links or something at home, it's not possible now because like you said, they also have to make money. So how do you look at it from the business angle?
I see that some new sort of revenue source they have to create. Any OTT to survive at this point of time. It cannot depend on only one revenue, which is the subscription model. In a cost sensitive demographic that we have in India, we probably as a household we'll probably have 1,000 or 15 rupees that we might want to invest in one OTT or two OTTs maximum. That will depend on what is the content on it. It could be if I am a big fan of say some language films. Those films might be very much relevant in a particular OTT, and that I'll subscribe. Otherwise, I'll not subscribe. That is the thing. Or if I'm a big fan of sports, IPL, then by default I'm going to take Hotstar. It's a very simple thing. So that price sensitivity has to be justified. So how many people will actually take more than 2 or 3 OTTs? It's very rare, unless you are like upper middle class and all, or maybe your whole entertainment is based on OTT, or someone like me who has to do it for research or academic purposes. Otherwise, I'm not going to subscribe.
Obviously,
So the next model that they are trying to do is ad-based revenue, which is even like last 2 days back, Amazon had given out a statement that they are going to broadcast 6 minutes of ads for 1 hour of content consumption. So if you are watching a movie, essentially you'll see a 6-minute ad in between, which is again the cable network kind of a model. Same thing. So slowly it will be ad revenue based. Then maybe at some point they'll use the syndication thing. Syndication in the sense, let us say there is a show that is on one platform or a film that a platform has bought. Slowly they'll give syndication rights to another platform to telecast it in particular territories. Maybe India mein there'll be one OTT which is telecasting the same show or film. Outside India, they'll give the syndication rights to someone else. So these are different models that again as a creator I might not be aware of other models, but these are the things that I'm seeing which are happening at this point.
So that talking about the regional OTTs, like you said, global players are different and regional is different. So for somebody who's aspiring to make it big on regional OTTs, I think like you said, it's a different pitch and it's a different ball game. So what would you advise the people who want to make their mark in the regional OTTs?
I would say the best way of going is at this point appeal to the family audience. That is the biggest takeaway that I am seeing, or the biggest development I am seeing. It could be AHA, it could be ETV Win, it could be Hoichoi, or it could be some Marathi OTT or something like that. Anywhere or across the country, any regional OTT usually is pushing for the family audience. So if let us say our biggest hit in the recent times, the biggest hit is Panchayat, which is in Amazon Prime. It is a worldwide hit, not even India. But its biggest takeaway is that it is a show which can be watched by the entire family. Why I am saying family is that the whole family will connect on regional language. Obviously, it is a Telugu household or a Tamil household or a Hindi household. Individually, when we watch, maybe we'll probably watch some English content. Because of the younger generation. But the older generation or the fathers and the mothers, they'll probably want to watch something in their own language. So it becomes a family affair. So regional OTT show becomes a family affair. So for them you'll have to create something which is safe, which is nostalgic. Nostalgic why? Because people like to kind of see something that they've forgotten or they've not experienced in a very long time. Because of migration to cities and everything, they'll want to see something which is happening in their village or hometown. Something like that. So nostalgic. Or something which is comedy, which is humorous, which is maybe emotional, all these kind of things, which is like a family friendly kind of a thing. I would advise any writer to see what their family is actually watching. Maybe you can probably experiment with a couple of shows, ask them to sit around and see if they are seeing it, and if they are hooked, that is the way to go about it. Write something. Second thing is ACT category, which is action, crime, thriller. This is something that you can pitch to different people, but that is even regional OTTs want a ACT thing. That is always a dearth for it. There is a demand for it. But the thing is, the budgets will not be that high in the coming future. Right now, till now, there were some budgets for it. For the ACT category, the budgets will be lower, because the idea is these shows will be seen on a personal basis, not a communal basis. Individually, people will watch it on smartphones or their laptops or something like that. They'll still watch it, but not with their family. So these are the two ways that probably they can work it out.
So from this answer, I just have a small doubt. See, aspiring writers, all that, yes, I mean, they have to cater to family audiences, makes sense. But, OTT per se, if we have a look, see, we have all these Gen Z millennials and all that who have a different kind of mindset.
Correct.
At the same time, we have family audience and we have
Correct.
middle-aged and old people who are still interested to watch. So business per se, where do you think that these OTTs have to bank, or is it a balance, or how is it?
Again, that is a strategic question, which as a creator I might not be able to fully answer, because again, every OTT, as I said, has their own positioning, has their own demographic, and depending on that, they'll focus on few things, they'll not focus on something. For an example, let us say something like a ETV Win, which is really emerging to be a major player in OTT. They'll concentrate on a particular type of demography because they already have that subscriber base from ETV network. There are people who are kind of loyal to the ETV brand as it is. So they'll have to cater to them first. Then obviously there will be a portion of budget which will be given towards experimentation, towards pushing for younger content, younger generation content, and all those things. So that will be depending on the OTT and what kind of. Z has its own thing, Netflix has its own thing, Sony Live has its own kind of a strategy in place. So depending on that, and second, it will also be divided on geographical territories. Let us say the same strategy which is applicable to a Hyderabad might not be the same for a Bombay or a Delhi. Or something interior of Bihar or Uttarakhand, because we are very much wary about our film culture. Some sort of content which is appealing to that, we'll probably take it up as a web series or film or even a original movie which is directly released. But the same sort of film culture might not be there in something like a Delhi or a Calcutta. They'll probably be more based out of literature that they have. So Calcutta is based on more of a literature and art. So maybe that will be a different strategy altogether. So these are questions for strategic minds in OTT to answer. From a creative perspective, I would say, if you really want to break into regional OTT, go for these things that I mentioned. Or you don't want to restrict yourself, write a web series, then pitch it around, depending on the filtration that I said. Have a web series ready, which is really good, concept wise, log line wise. If you can explain a web series in say 25 words or 30 words, then you are winning. If you have a really good idea, then you can explain it in 25-30 words. And always have a stake, have a ticking clock and all those things. These are all grammar things which writers will know, obviously. Depending on that, once you ready it, and you can package it like that.
So one more, concept that's to be discussed is that, like in movies, we have, some work out, some don't, some are massive hits, some are flops, in spite of having a stellar cast and all that. So similarly, some series work out on OTT and some don't. There might be some shows which were really shot with a lot of dedication and passion and have content also, but they have maybe not attracted audience as much as the other shows do. So what's your take on this entire concept?
Web series, I think, is a long game. It cannot be decided, a success or a failure of a web series cannot be decided in a couple of days, like a film. Film has its opening. Let us say it releases on Friday, you have your market trade by Monday. You understand if it's a hit or a flop. Web series is not time sensitive. It is there on the platform. Sometimes suddenly people will start watching. We can never really predict. There are classic examples of it also, like something like a Suits, which got telecasted some 10 years back. Suddenly Netflix bought it, and it became a massive hit now, 10 years later.
Yeah.
Or something like a Mad Men or a Breaking Bad. Sometimes what happens is, once you have a season 2, people start taking up notice. So one of the classic examples is again Panchayat. The first season was an average hit. Not many people really knew about it. But second season came out during the COVID period. People sat up and took notice, and they went back and saw the first season. So suddenly it became a massive hit. So there are different factors. So, and the main important thing is, we cannot really judge a show's performance just in a very short time. Sometimes it is the longevity, or sometimes the body of work that the creator is doing afterwards. Let us say like Anurag Kashyap, who did Sacred Games, goes on to do something really exciting. People will again come and watch, because this is available all the time. So there is no kind of FOMO attached to, fear of missing out, which is attached to a web series per se. You're interested, you're as it is watching. Maybe your interest will change at some point, and you'll again come back to watch it.
That's there, but again, I mean, like a lot of people will have doubt that, like you said, since it's always there, people can go back and watch it any point, which is true. But if we talk about the costing and all that, I mean, suppose it has costed a bomb for a particular OTT platform, and they don't think they have recovered it as of yet. So, I mean, they might not, give the chance to that particular writer or director in the long run.
Definitely.
So, I mean, how does it work? It's confusing at this point, right? I mean, like you said, people might watch it anytime. But do OTTs have a time frame to decide whether it's like, on a positive note for them?
So that trend has kind of changed. So I'll tell you, when during the COVID time, where the web series were doing really wonderfully well.
Yeah.
So something like a Scam was a big hit. Then Delhi Crime, Family Man was a big hit. New concepts, new things were obviously going well received and everything. So immediately they gave the green signal to do the season 2 for these shows, these particular shows. That happened in South also. Many shows which were doing really, really well during COVID times, they were given this thing. Post-COVID, a bit of change has happened. So unless they really have the dates of an actor, or the technical crew, or the script is already in place for season 2 and it has to be made, they're not willing to gamble on it at this point, because there is no compulsion. As I said, it also depends on the subscription growth and the revenue they are making. The revenue has dipped after the COVID phase has passed, so now they have to prioritize their budget. Do they prioritize on something which is already established as a franchise, or do they prioritize on a smaller budget? So what happens is, let us say I have been given a particular amount, X amount, to make a show. Becomes a hit. Now if I have to do a season 2, I'll have to either match that budget or go beyond that.
Yeah.
At this point, OTTs are not willing to do that.
Rather
they'll go for a smaller budget, new content series.
Okay.
So again, as I said, there are different algorithms, different statistics which go into approving a show or not, and also it depends on the actors' availabilities. Initially, many actors were open to doing OTT during the phase of 2020 to 22, 23. Those 3 years, big stars were associating.
Yeah.
Now they are all busy, so it doesn't make logical sense to again invest double the amount to bring them and make them do a web series. Because they are getting their good remuneration in theatres. They are getting their films. So they might not return to a season 2. And we don't have a contractual agreement kind of a thing. In US, you have a contract of 3 seasons or 4 seasons, and this is the remuneration that we are going to pay upfront. We don't have that contract system. So anyone is, and someone who's already tasted success in a web series, usually they transition to films only. They'll not come back. Even a writer and a director, they'll not probably come back, because they're not seeing the worth of it, the economic worth of it.
Understood. So since we are talking about, stars, their availability and all that, so we have aggressive promotions, a series of promotional activities planned and all that for the movies whenever there's like a big release especially.
Correct.
So similarly, I mean, is the same ad budget allocated or being spent for OTTs, or how do you see the PR and marketing side of it?
Again, that is a strategy thing. I can't really talk about it, but I've seen really good budgets being allocated for promotions.
Okay.
Even I think last week Rana Naidu season 2 was coming. A huge amount of promotions were taken up, hoardings were given. Even for our own show, we've spent a really solid amount of promotional budget in pushing it in different channels, even offline, online, hoardings, everything. So people are putting it. If they really see the worth of that particular project, and they see that yes, this content has to be pushed in regional markets as well. In Hyderabad or usually OTT kind of market, urban market, people are open to seeing new content. Immediately it comes up on their screen or they get a notification, they'll watch it. But in regional markets like interiors of Andhra and everything, because this particular Paruvu was a regional demographic kind of a content, they had to push it. You have to make them aware that there is this show which is happening in your city, which is about your culture. So then people will tune in. Arey, what is this kind of thing? And so one way of doing it is also giving out a free episode. The first episode will be free for the platform. So you come, you get a taster of what this series is about.
So
if you like, then you get it. Yeah. So different ways of promoting the show. People are putting it. Again, depends on the budget of that show and the faces involved, the actors involved, the talent involved, and all those things.
So what's your take on the censor board being allocated to OTT platforms also? We have that for movies, but here I think these people still have the freedom to do and explore whatever they want. So how do you see it?
It's a very controversial question, but so from the perspective of a creator and a writer, I probably want to be left alone by a board or a committee telling me, you should do this, you should do that, etc., etc. Probably that will be the best case scenario for me as a writer. But understanding it from a production point of view or a consumption point of view, rather content consumption point of view, it is always a better practice to kind of mark your content with the appropriate grade. Say if it is a family content, you are automatically knowing that this is a family content irrespective of the trailer and everything. So you can stream it on a smart TV with all your family. You are not embarrassed to see it, or you are not feeling that okay, maybe this is not a right decision or something like that, because that also affects your purchasing pattern. So one time, let us say a particular household streams something which is controversial on a streaming TV, I mean, on a smart TV, and he gets uncomfortable. Next time he might not even subscribe to that OTT as a whole. He'll blame that. It's a psychological thing. You don't want to be uncomfortable. So it is easier to have a really clear mark of what can be streamed on a household TV and what can be streamed on your personal devices. So if that kind of a categorization happens, then it is always a good thing. But again, as I said, the moment the problem comes when the creative decisions start getting affected because of a committee or a CBFC or whatever it is, central board. So at this point, what OTTs have done is self-censorship. So they've created a legal team, created a content team, which will go through your script on the first step itself. They'll tell what is working, what is not working. Maybe there is some political commentary in it which is not conducive, or maybe there is something which will not work in the market or which can be made into a controversy tomorrow. So the committee will go through it and the content has to pass through it. So the self-censorship is in place at this point with every OTT. It is not just one OTT, every OTT, depending on what they want to portray and what they don't want to touch. So that is there. But yeah, for a categorization of content and to give clear demarcations and everything, something like a committee could be implemented.
So finally, can we know about your future endeavors?
Not in detail, but I've been developing.
Just a blink of.
Blink is I've been developing a couple of web series, one with a major platform, and apart from that, I'm trying to mount a film, theatrical film. The reason is very simple. There is a lot of flux which is going on for OTT business. Everyone is recalibrating their strategies, and that is true with every OTT. It could be depending on the economics of the thing, market, subscriptions as we discussed. All these things are taking time to kind of fix on one particular strategy for every OTT. So it is going to take time for me to kind of mount a web series in the way that I want, in the manner that I want, with the talent that I want. So all these things will take time. So parallelly, I've been trying to pitch a film and get a theatrical release for it.
So that's very nice to hear. We never knew that, a conversation about entertainment could be so knowledgeable. Thank you so
Thank
much
you,
for being
thank
on
you.
the
Thank
Bizz
you
Buzz
so
show.
much. Thank you.
Thank you.